moving through the woods. All I can remember is flipping the light on, and I see this creature, and I knew in my heart, I knew in my mind, in the whole nine yards, this isn't a man. And then this thing walks across the road, takes a turn towards us, and then leaps over a guardrail.
Went to look forward, and there was a big black thing, is all I can call it.
Welcome to Squatch-D TV, exploring the Bigfoot mystery each week with your hosts, veteran researcher, author, and TV personality, the Squatch Detective, Steve Kulls, and from the Bigfoot Research Project of Kentucky, Chris Bennett. Sit back and buckle up as we bring you guests from around North America discussing the Bigfoot phenomena, but not without a few laughs, too. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV for today's date, February 28th, 2021. This is the last show of February, folks.
Yeah.
Here we are. And of course, before we do the rollouts, I just want to, of course, I got my co-host down there, Mr. Chris Bennett.
Hey.
And of course, down there is Jesus Jr. What's up?
How you doing?
So anyway, as usual, we'll do the roll call and say hi to folks that have chimed in already. And looks like YouTube is in the lead tonight with the shout outs. We got Em and Chris. Hello, Em. Good to see you.
How you doing?
B, of course, our B is in there.
Hi, B.
And we got Tactical Bigfoot Research out there.
Mike, good tack.
And Aaron, our good friend Aaron's out there.
Welcome.
And Mike is in the house.
Yeah, Merry Mike.
And welcome, Dwayne. Dwayne, I don't think we've seen you, but welcome to the show, my friend.
Good to see you.
And here we are. Who else has come in? Here we are. Now we scroll down the chat here. We got Diane.
Hi, Diane.
Jimmy. Of course, Charlie Wonton.
I figured Charlie was there somewhere.
Charlie Wonton Chinian. All right.
And we got Sherry.
Hey, Sherry.
Squatch Talk is in the house. We got our good friend over there on Facebook, Jim Lansing. Jim, how are you, brother? We're going to get out real soon. Keith, good to see you. And of course, Jason. Hello, Jason. Good to see you. So we're getting ourselves a full house here really quick. And without any real introduction, I most people are going to remember Jesus from this wonderful show. And I just got to ask Gonzo, what was it like working for Tuco?
It was quite a stressful work situation. Yeah.
And of course, he has this wonderful channel called Breaking Bigfoot. And I think we'll go with the trailer first, and we'll get into the chat about this. We're going to jump right into this tonight.
All right.
So let's jump into this.
All around the world, in almost every civilization, there are stories of terrible monsters. Beasts that hide in the night, terrorize the locals, and even kill. But I believe that they're all connected. I believe that these are all Bigfoots, and I'm gonna prove it. I'm Jesus Jr. Did you hear that? Something's moving. I have a real strange connection with Bigfoot. It's been broken off from right here. It looks like it pushed back in.
Do you see these? Do you see these white
Oh,
stripes
it's like
right
nail,
here?
like nail.
Yeah.
Big, thick nails. You know, there's so many stories that are out there that I think are Bigfoot related that people have no idea are about Bigfoot. You know? And I'm trying to open their eyes. It's time. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that was
Awesome.
And for those who want to check out, I'm going to pop up the banner too for the YouTube channel for
Right there. Yep.
right there, scrolling right across. So, yeah, and you know, I gotta say that's really an exciting trailer. I love it. It's like, yeah, you know, and a couple of more folks just wandered into that we need to make mention of. Walt. And little Walt, who is his birthday today. And happy birthday to little Walt, who turns 20.
Happy birthday, Walt. And Walt.
Little Walt's not too young. I thought little Walt was like 8, 20. Okay.
No, little Walt's not.
Okay.
Walt and little Walt were the men in black at the Pennsylvania Bigfoot camping adventure.
It
It was funny because Jay Pachochin was playing the Bigfoot. He was in the Bigfoot suit. And at one point, Walt and little Walt, dressed as the men in black, grabbed them and walked off with them. So you gotta love the shtick.
Walt cleared that up. Is it? I mean, little Walt turned 10 years old, not 20. Okay.
Oh,
there we
So
are.
he was 9. Okay, I was thinking 8, but he was 9. Okay.
And of course, we
Happy
got
birthday.
Ken in the house, and Nani is in the house too.
10 is a big number. Double digits.
10's a big number.
Nani, hey, welcome, Nani.
Well, my own son, and I want to throw a happy birthday shout out to him. Technically, it's not his birthday today. It's non-existent because he was a leap year baby, so he was born on February 29th.
Oh,
But a
happy
shout out
belated birthday in 4 years.
and a
What,
shout out to
Steve's
my
about
son.
5 years old now.
Yeah, 5. Yeah. Well, anyway, technically, he is hit the big breakthrough number. He is 29 today.
Oh,
Wow.
And yeah, his last year of the 20s.
happy birthday.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Well, you know,
Back quick.
And
Preemptive birthdays. John Gray, birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, John.
happy birthday, John.
Happy birthday, John.
We ought to do a happy birthday minute during the show or something.
So Tag just told us that his sister is also a leap year baby.
Oh, wow.
And boy, I bet you harassed her horribly as a child about that. I just got that feeling, you know, that you were the type of brother to go, hey, you ain't got a birthday this year. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what day would you celebrate on? Would you celebrate on the last day of February, or
my son usually celebrates on the 28th.
28th? Yeah, makes sense.
Is there a lot of leaping happening on those birthdays?
All I know is that he shouldn't have a driver's license, you know, because technically he's only like 5. Well, he's 4. Well,
Yeah.
5, 6, somewhere around there. I can't multiply right now for nothing.
Come on, Chris says, I've been 29 a lot of times.
Yeah.
So has my wife every year.
I think this year I'm going to start turning back the clock, and next year I'm gonna be 51, not 52.
Wow.
Turn it back. Anyway, so Jesus, you've been doing this for a long time.
Started early.
Yep. And, you know, if you want to tell us how you got all involved in this, because, you know, I think the beautiful thing is that, you know, you're doing some amazing stuff just out of the gate here. And I really enjoy it. So
Thank you.
tell us about how you got involved in this crazy business.
Okay, well, once upon a time, a long, long time ago, I was a young little squatcher in Europe because my father was military. He was Air Force and had been stationed in Spain. So I was born on a military Air Force base in Spain. And when I turned 1.5, we moved to England, where he was stationed, working by Bentwaters. And we lived in these old houses. And my mom, she bought my first book, where I found about Bigfoot out in Arthur C. Clarke's book, Mysterious World. And that's where I got hooked on that. The house was haunted, and there was UFOs flying around, and I was there for when the Rendlesham Forest incident happened.
Wow.
My dad was working there. So, my whole life was filled with strangeness, and my mom was really adamant on not shielding me from that weirdness and let me just I like to read. Like I said, I started reading when I was 4, so I just couldn't stop researching about Bigfoot.
Wow. Now, that's interesting. Did your father have any good Bentwaters stories, or was he kind of like not involved in it?
Oh, that was on need-to-know basis.
Yeah, he never told you.
So even later in his career, because he worked on a lot of bases that were not supposed to exist, he wouldn't even tell me about them, but I would bring up names because I did research in many different fields, and he'd be like, "How do you know about that base?" Yeah. And I'm like, "I don't, but it's really cool. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it because it's going to be backwards. You'll see me wearing this a lot. It's my dad's boxing medal. I'm a boxer. He was a boxer, and my grandfather was a boxer. But if you read what it says,
oh yeah. Air Force Base, Bentwaters.
Boxing, Bentwaters.
Boxing smoker.
Cool.
December 1980.
1980.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's literally the month that the Bentwaters, the Rendlesham Forest incident happened.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Yeah, so I take care of this thing. Keep it around my neck. Only Bigfoot can pry it from my hands.
And that would probably be a tough fight for him. Wow. So when did you actually start getting into the field doing that? I mean, what were...
That was in 2000 when my mother, she worked for the Forest Department. So she was working up in Ruidoso, New Mexico at the Forest Department. And we were at our new cabin, renting it. It was new to us. And it was me, my dad, my mom, and my sister. She was a police officer in Ruidoso Downs. We heard a Bigfoot scream, not scream, but call. With a long, high pitch, super long one. And we were like, what the heck was that? And after it finished, the whole forest got quiet. Birds, bugs, didn't matter. It was just silence. Yeah. And we were like, whoa. And then it did it again. Nice. And after it did that, I ran inside and jumped on the interweb. And I looked up Bigfoot audio recordings, and sure enough, I found the exact same one. Right. And that was it. And I was like, we are here. So my mother and my sister, because my sister was an officer and my mom was the Forest Department, they'd get reports, Bigfoot reports, sightings and stuff, and they couldn't do anything about them because Bigfoot doesn't exist in their world. They would tell me about it, and I was able to go and investigate. So that's how it really got started, being in the field.
That's so cool.
Oh, hang on a second. I got to silence this phone. All of a sudden, I didn't realize it was on.
Little bit of feedback. I thought that was Bigfoot.
Dude, you started out with inside contacts. That's a good way to start out, Most of the time, something goes wrong. Something goes on around the national parks or the Forest Service around here. It's all, nobody says anything.
Which is another reminder to my son. Psst, psst, hey, son, come on, pass me some stuff. My son's a New York State Forest Ranger. So
inside contacts.
So we already have our first question. We got Tate Hieronymus, who we want to get on the show at some point in time too, in case he's out there listening. We'd love to have him on too. But no relation to Bob Hieronymus. So, but he wanted to ask Tate here, member of the Bluff Creek Project and the Bluff Creek Project podcast, and we'll do a shout out to that podcast as well. What does Jesus think of the legitimacy of the Patterson-Gimlin film?
I think it's legit as legit can be. It's a real Bigfoot.
There you go. There you go. So, while we're on that topic, I mean, what are some of the things that you think really, aside from the Patterson Gimlin film, what are some of the other things that you think, bring a lot of legitimacy to this phenomenon?
Okay, well, of course, there's all the personal accounts, and encounters that people have had. But of course, that is technically hearsay, but I do put a lot of belief in what people are saying, because a lot of them don't know about Bigfoot, and some of the details that they'll say that if you are a seasoned researcher in this field, they shouldn't know, So I do pay attention to those. Now, footprints, very important, especially footprints with dermal ridges, handprints as well. I also, because I'm Mayan Indian, okay, and French, and I spent a lot of time on reservations. I was adopted by a Navajo mom up in Farmington on the Upper Fruitland Reservation. I drum and sing Mescalero. I drum and sing with the Comanche boys, and I host powwows and
Mescalero.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time on different reservations, and all of our histories, which of course is called myth and legend. Our histories they're real history, and we've had this phenomena for a very, very long time beyond fake monkey suits and digital, CGI abilities, and it's a real thing. We consider them another type of human, just a lot hairier, and there's good ones and bad ones.
Yep. And just so you know, Tate threw awesome. Thank you guys, and Jesus anytime too. So we'll get we'll get Tate on real soon. And
one of the biggest reasons, brother Steve, that I believe in Bigfoot is the fact that I've seen Bigfoot more than once.
Right. We want to get into that. So yeah,
so that's a big one right there. Having firsthand accounts, and then being working with the Genome Project and working with professionals, the head of anthropology departments, and I was chosen for the Falcon project, but unfortunately that fell apart. But yeah, I was chosen amongst all those PhDs to work on this because I do study, anthropology and anatomy and primatology. Even though I don't have those cool little letters after my name, I know as much and more just because there's many head of universities that want to know what I know and what I think about things, and take it serious.
Pardon me while I take care of a
there's one thing for sure. Nothing will convince you more than seeing one yourself. And a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of skeptics. Of course, I go over there to the skeptic boards a little bit sometimes. And a lot of skeptics are like, convince me Bigfoot exists. Convince me, I'm like, dude, I'm not here to convince you of anything. Matter of fact, it's okay to remain skeptical. That's fine. Right up to the point where you see one yourself.
Well, what I like to tell the skeptics, okay, because in all the different fields of the strange and weird and mysterious, you got skeptics for each one, and they all say the same thing because they've never seen it. They don't believe it. So I tell them, okay, think about this. Say you're walking around this really, really busy highway, and you don't believe in Mack trucks, right? So you go step on that highway, and a big old Mack truck comes, but you don't believe in it because you never seen one before, and it hits you. Guess what happens? You're still going to get killed because Mack trucks are real, even though you ain't ever seen one in person. Right. So you got to keep an open mind. You can't definitively say it doesn't exist just because you've never seen it. There's a lot of kids out there, youngsters, young men that ain't never seen a lot of stuff, but girls still exist, and we do have children. Yeah.
Very cool.
Very cool. Sorry, I'm just working a little.
I think there's a difference too between actual skeptics and some people that claim to be skeptics. Like we've had Benjamin Radford on several times, and if I had a hat on, I would take it off to him. He's a great skeptic. He's not one of these denialist people, but he asks questions, and he asks the right questions.
Well, there's a bunch of skeptics that are in disguise, and they're debunkers, because the debunker is somebody that is trying to prove something wrong, even if it's real. They're going to grasp it, whatever they can, to discredit and say it's not real, because that's what their goal is, debunking. But they hide behind the name skeptic, because the second if they were to admit they're debunkers, their whole charade falls apart.
And you know, Chris can attest to this. I've had my share of debunking things. I've had my share of bringing things forward, and I've had some share of going, I don't know.
Well, that's different though, Steve. I mean, you're doing it as a researcher, okay? Right. And you're using your background with Bigfoot to help assist you on trying to find out whether this person actually told something that's not really true, or something like that. You know, I think there's a big difference.
Right. I mean, I think the most recent one I did was the Bigfoot peeper. I don't know if you've seen that, the picture of the Bigfoot peeping in the window.
Yep.
And, you know, being a private investigator, it gives me access to a little more than your average researcher sometimes. Right. And I started digging on this guy, and turns out he was a convicted child molester, and never lived where he said, never owned property where he said he did. Kind of figured out that his new area kind of looks like, okay, that may be the lights in the background. They actually took this in the back of his apartment. And why he did it, I don't want to say why, but I know there's a psychological need. A lot of times there's people that they just want to belong to something. And, you know, so that I think was more in tune. I don't think he was trying anything nefarious. And I always made that very clear. I don't think he was trying anything nefarious. Given his background, I think his background kind of made him isolated. So, so anyway, let's talk about your encounters. Now, the first encounter, was that the one you caught on video?
No.
Okay, so let's talk about your first encounter, and then we'll get to the video encounter.
All right. Well, my first encounter was in, I'd say, 13 years before I got it on video. Okay. I was living in Tularosa, New Mexico, kind of out in the cut. See, Chris knows what I'm talking about. What I'll be describing. Okay, so if you pass Tularosa about 2 miles, it's all desert, and if you look to the left is a White Sands Missile Range. So I lived 2 miles towards the White Sands Missile Range off the highway on 5 acres. And me and a friend were out looking for UFOs, because there's a lot of UFO stuff happening there constantly. So we're out there in the middle of the night looking for UFOs, and we're standing on the gravel road that surrounds my property. My house is dead smack in the middle of 5 acres. We have, you know, floodlights on, but they only go out so far on 5 acres, you know? So we're in the dark. And, you know, I'm also, like Steve, I'm an investigator, beyond Bigfoot, of course. You know, I was trained as a federal investigator. I was a federal detention officer. So I know what things sound like. And since my mom was worked for the forestry department, I took every class that they had available for, you know, tracking and the animals in that area. So, you know, I know the difference between a bipedal walking versus, you know, a quadruped, you know. Yeah. So we're out there on the gravel, and, you know, we heard ourselves walk on it. There's no sounds anywhere because we're in the middle of nowhere. And we're standing there talking, looking for UFOs, and we hear something in front of us walk on the gravel. Yeah. You know, real gentle, just, you know, and we're both looking at each other like, what the heck is that? Because we can't see it. It's only like 20 feet in front of us, but it's so dark, we couldn't see nothing. Right. So we get quiet and we're just listening, and it starts pacing on the road back and forth, a little faster and faster, you know? And we got the feeling that, like, whatever it was, well, I got the feeling that it was like building up its courage, because it started going faster and faster and faster. And, you know, just it built up. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I was getting that heebie-jeebie feeling too, like whatever it is doesn't like us, and it's building up the courage to do something, you know? So when it got to where it was pacing back and forth, like almost to a jog, you know, I was like, I whispered to him. And my friend and I said, squat down and let's grab as many rocks in our hands as possible. And when I say now, throw rocks, let's try to hit it. So whatever it is gets, like, oh no, and runs away, And so we do that, reach down, grab the rocks, and we throw the rocks all crazy, and a bunch of them. Nothing. Don't hit it. It's still going back and forth the same pace, right? I'm like, oh, hell no. So then I squat back down, and I feel around, and I grab a good-sized rock in my hand, and I close my eyes, even though it's dark, so I'm using my imaginary Jedi Force powers, and I close my eyes, and I just listen to it, walking back and forth. And I reach back, and I throw that rock like I've never thrown a rock before, and it made a zip sound because I threw it so hard, it went zip, and I hit it, and it screamed, wah! And we took off running back to the house, right? So I'm running like 300 miles per hour, which in reality, because at the time I weighed over 400 pounds, was about 3 miles per hour. But to me, it was fast, right? So we're running back to the house, and we get close enough to where the floodlights I can start to see, And I look to my left, and it's running with me on the side of me. It's not running behind us, chasing us. It's matching our speed, but it's running on all fours. And it's big, dark, and it's looking at me while it's running, just like do-do-do-do-do, And we finally make it to the back deck, wood deck. We run up the stairs, and it tackles the back deck. And we're fumbling, trying to open the sliding door, because at that point, we're not thinking, hey, that might be a Bigfoot. Let's take a picture, No, we're just like, oh, God, we're going to die. We're going to die. And it runs on the other side of the deck and tackles the deck again, right? And by that time, we got the door open. We ran inside and closed the curtain, and we were just like, oh, we're alive. Oh, God, we're alive. And that was the first time I had an encounter with a Sasquatch. Not because I never fathomed that they would come down that far from the mountain. Yeah. And that's why I did my first documentary, because from that point forward, I was finding tracks in our property. They was letting our dogs loose, moving heavy things that I put around the chain link fence so the dogs couldn't dig out. And I'm talking like, boulders. I put railroad ties, and no problem. Just thrown to the side. Yeah. Dogs are loose in the morning. And I found out that, I figured out by doing the investigation that they were traveling down from Mescalero down the creek, because there's like a canyon, almost a small canyon that leads all the way to the farms. And it goes all the way down to White Sands Missile Range, where there's also been reports of Bigfoot on White Sands Missile Range by military. So that was my first encounter in 2003.
Wow. And OT is in there, and he just wrote, note to self, not being Bigfoot where the rocks or flick pennies brass up them.
No. I never did that again.
Oh, Kate says he thinks he hit Bobo.
Yeah, that would have been something. I know Bobo. Yeah, that'd be funny.
Man, that whole area though is just, it's great, and a lot of people don't realize. Yeah, it's a desert basin part of it, but on each side you have mountains. So you have a mountain range on each side, and on one side I know it's the Lincoln National Forest. And dude, you talk about some trees, dude. They got them. And even though it's a desert basin, you got all kinds of water, a watershed that comes through there. Between every canyon, there's a nice creek, and or almost a small river. Yep. And from all the runoff and everything, man, it's just super area.
Now, you used to run with one of our great friends that we haven't mentioned in a long time, J.C. Johnson, because you were earlier talking about Upper Fruitland. I remember going to Lower Fruitland with J.C. and interviewing some of the Dene there that were having issues with, and they literally said they would have 3 or 4 of them coming in every so often and snatching corn, reading corn from them.
Oh yeah, the hairy boys. Yeah, I was a Crypto Four Corners member. He, I met JC through Bigfoot, of course, and like I said, I used to live on that reservation. So he had heard about me, and Finding Bigfoot had called me up, and they're like, "Hey, will you be on Finding Bigfoot? We heard you found footprints and all that stuff," which I was helping teaching Brenda Harris. Right before I threw the first Farmington Bigfoot conference, teaching her how to track and how to, cast footprints and all that. And that's how I met JC through them.
Yeah, it's just an amazing area. So you're probably familiar. I mean, I remember being up on the Lukachukai and the Carrizos and the Chuskas, and it was amazing because up until that time I never saw mule deer. I'm only used to the whitetail or maybe some blacktail, but the mule deer, I love how the difference between like the whitetail or the blacktail deer is that the mule deer hop. And it's really weird to see mule deer because they're like, they're like little springs. They're just boing, boing. And I was like fascinated, but I remember being up on the Lukachukai, and I wish I took a video of it, but here is like maybe 60 or 70 mule deer. And you can just, when you're up in that area, you're just with nature, man. It's unreal.
Yeah, but I saw a Bigfoot in the Lukachukai Mountains. When we were out there, I had just recently found out that I had diabetes. That's why I've lost like 125 pounds since then, so I can run faster now. But yeah, so I had my muscle, my tendon snapped in my calf at the ankle, and so we went on a big old hunt, and I had to stay back in the truck, deep in the mountain. And they were all out there looking, and they're all, I could hear on the walkie-talkies, "Hey, we heard something. And I just see this big old Bigfoot run right in front of the truck, past, running by. It was silent. That was the crazy thing. It was silent. Not a sound. And it ran right in front of the truck, across the trail, one step right over the trail. And I was driving a Denali XLT, so it's not a skinny vehicle. And its step running across was wider than the truck.
Right.
And just I want to pop in. I want to wish all the new folks to that are listening on Periscope. We got several people on Periscope, aka the Twitter feed tonight. So hello to you guys. Kim H and who else?
Thank
Nate
you.
and SD. Welcome. Yeah, I just when we were up at the Lukachukai, nothing happened, except we did find a mama bear track and a baby cub track, which led to a lot of anxiety because, when you have a mama cub, a cub up there,
right?
It's now there was a question up there. Let me get it up there. Where is it? Wait, somebody had asked. If I can find it, because things are just scrolling right along here. Here it is from Sean Godet. He asked, do you carry a gun with you when you...
Only in the movies.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. I agree. I do not necessarily carry... I don't personally carry a firearm. Some of my teammates do, which is fine. And it's good to keep the bad animals away. Right? Last thing I want to do is run into a bear.
Yep.
That's true. I carry a sidearm, or used to when I was out, but the main reason is because we do have mountain lions and stuff. I mean, a lot of people say, well, you don't have a breeding population in Kentucky. Well, I don't care about that. I care about the one that jumped over the car hood. That's the one
I'll carry bear mace. I'll carry bear mace.
Yeah.
I'll have an axe on me, hatchet, or I'm a large guy, so like out here, our bears, we have the black bears.
Yeah.
I'm bigger than them, so the bears that we have aren't very confrontational. So I've trained with rangers on how to deal with them, and I'm not a small man. I still weigh over 325 pounds, and I'm 6'3", with boots on, a little bit taller. So I'm able to scur away most animals. Yeah. I'm very wary with cougars and the pumas we got. We even got black ones out here, solid black.
Yeah.
Ones out here.
New Mexico has everything. One of the first things that I saw when I was going up La Luz Canyon, I saw a herd of pronghorn, and they're just like bouncing. And I was thinking, dude, I've only seen them on videos like in Africa. What are they?
We got oryx. We have oryx out here too.
Man, everything. Yeah.
Yep.
So one of the more interesting cases was that of Brenda Harris. And I think a long time ago, Brenda was on the radio portion of the show. I want to say that had to have been I don't know, maybe 2008, 2007, somewhere. I mean, that long ago. That's how long we've been doing this show.
Yep.
And she had, not only did she have, she had that video of that apparition or whatever on her property.
Yep.
And it was kind of rumored to be maybe that was a skinwalker but she's had all kinds of strange things happening on her property. And I noticed, especially in the Four Corners area, things intermingle. And I remember being down at that, just before going up to the Lucashoot guys, we stopped off near, trying to think the name of the, Shiprock. And there was this little area where you had all the food vendors there. And you probably know what I'm talking about. And got to get my Navajo tacos before I go up to. Oh,
the mutton and some of the fry bread.
Yeah, ooh, delicious.
Good
and they were like, "Oh well, good luck with finding the Sasquatch, but be careful of the skinwalkers." And they are really scared of the skinwalkers. And I learned that the reservation police investigate skinwalker cases, and stuff like that, and they would tell us too, beware of the skinwalkers.
Yeah, I hunted those. The families that would be harassed by them, I would go out and hunt them and scare them away from those areas. Because I got my own special hooba juba for them, you know what I mean, to deal with them.
And people, and that's the thing. People would ask me, because I do a lot of paranormal stuff too, and they're like, they're separate things. There's different things in this world that go on, and I treat them separately. They may intermingle at one point or another, but for the most part, they're separate phenomenon.
Well, we had a Bigfoots. Okay, we're out. You know where the casino was, right?
Yes.
So I lived behind the casino, right up there on them hills. So that's right where all the activity was happening, and the Sasquatch would steal corn from the top of the mesas and running up and down in that area. And we had a big mama, this really large female Sasquatch, and a group of boys, and they would literally fight with skinwalkers. When the skinwalkers would come on that area, that property, you'd have a big mama go out there, and you'd hear them going at it. It was wild, man. It was some wild stuff out there.
Yeah, it's amazing the high strangeness that goes out in those areas. Not only with the Navajo, but the same with the Apache, the same with the Ute tribe. I mean, in the middle of the Ute, you have the United Basin, the Unitah Basin, where Skinwalker Ranch is. Just a lot of weird stuff, and I kind of attribute it to there are areas where there are forests, which are really bizarre. You wouldn't think you would be in a forest in the middle of Arizona or New Mexico, but they're there.
Oh yeah,
but it's so open, so you see so much.
Well, that footage that I got of Sasquatch, that's right there on that reservation, right by the San Juan River. And a lot of people, the debunkers and skeptics, they're like, Bigfoots wouldn't be right there, right by the open areas. There's no enough trees there for them to be there, and you couldn't see the river. But if you actually go there to the place, there's a lot of trees on the outside in the outside banks of that river. Right. I mean, tons of cover, and there's cave systems too. Yeah. So
we're going to get to the video in a second, but a couple of questions I want to get out in the chat room. First, let's do the clarification. Skinwalker, are we talking dogmen? No, the skinwalkers are a different phenomenon than basically they're I would call them Navajo shaman that use their black magic to become something of an animal. It could be in the shape of a wolf. They've gone to birds. I remember this really weird experience we had, and Leonard kept pointing at it, and it was a black crow. And the black crow was following us around when we got the Navajo tacos. The next morning, and black crows are not very familiar in that area. And here we are up in the Lucashoot guys, and there's this black crow that just keeps sitting in a tree near us. And it was kind of like, and Leonard's going, I don't like that. And we're like, what do you think? I think it's a skinwalker.
Yeah.
Really?
The thing is, a lot of people don't talk about it. That the skinwalkers, one, there's male and female, not just the male shamans and medicine men. So, because what it is, it's a medicine man or a medicine woman that has turned evil, has gone evil, and is conjuring evil spirits and demons to help them.
Yeah.
And they get inhabited by these spirits and demons, which gives them those abilities to change and fog our eyes and let us see what's not really there, you know?
Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's just very fascinating area. I love my time there. I was like, you're like on overload. There's so much stuff going on.
Oh yeah. One night where I told you I live behind the casino, I was in a trailer, you know, that's where I was staying, and I was sleeping on the floor, and, you know, you hear all kinds of fun bumps and whatnots in the night. And one night I got grabbed by my ankles and dragged across the whole floor by a spirit or a demon or a skinwalker, whatever the hell it was. But when the next morning when I was walking out, I had my tablet in my hand walking out, and it took a picture. I didn't take the picture. It just took its own picture while I was walking out. I didn't even know it took a picture. And when I saw the picture later, there's it looks like a very skinny native with long hair sitting on the couch with throwing up a peace sign, and to the left on the floor, you see this much of a face coming out of the floor. The head, watching me walk out. Yeah.
Wow. Weird.
Oh, yeah.
Weird.
Strange, wacky stuff.
So, okay. So Tate has a question. Do you think there could be Sasquatches in the Baja, Mexico? I know the terrain looks a lot like SoCal, which has sightings.
Yes, definitely. Mexico, South America, they have sightings of constantly. In Mexico, you have the Sisemite, which they they think that it's also like a witch, you know, black magic stuff. But from my research, it's Bigfoots, it's Sasquatches, and they're confusing because a lot of these shamans and medicine doctors that have gone, you know, rogue, they will use that to their advantage and say it's them, so they have more power in scaring people and intimidating people. But yeah, definitely in that whole area, you've got Sasquatch up and down that South America and up towards North America at the bottom in Mexico. Up close right here in Juarez, which of course these mountains, like Chris was saying, they go all the way to Mexico.
Yeah.
The whole mountain and the mountains of the White Sands Missile Range, they're hollowed out. Yeah. They've got cave systems going all the way through them, and the military take full advantage of it.
I remember exploring a cave in JC took it. I'm not quite sure where it was exactly. It was near Fruitland, Lower Fruitland. Because we had stopped there in the morning, and then we had gone out to there. And that actually there's something called Skinwalker Cave. Is that the name of it? Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, and I think that may have been the one.
I know what you're talking about.
And I remember the hill, as we pull in, there's almost like a little valley that leads up to it. And off to the right, there was this body impression. And it was 8 feet long with a conical shaped head. I have a picture of it somewhere. I'll dig it up sometime. But I thought that way, this is weird. And we went into the cave, and we actually found a couple of eaten corn cobs, stalks and all. Like, what the hell would bring this to the cave?
Yep.
You know, strip it, you know, it was really weird. And it looked like it had been bitten into rather than just pecked at. Yep. And the other interesting thing, which kind of makes it interesting for me, is that there's a smaller opening towards the back of the cave. And I've always said that I never think a Sasquatch would necessarily go into a cave that has no exit. That because they need some way out, an alternative way out. Otherwise, we probably would have found one over time in a cave, because if it's dead ended. But that one wasn't a dead ended cave, but it was huge. It's, you know, tremendous.
Well, I'd always heard that over there towards between White Sands Missile Range and Las Cruces. Okay, there's another range of mountains there. I'd always heard that on the Las Cruces side of those mountain range, that that there was a lot of caves and even some maybe abandoned gold mines or mines at one point where somebody were like digging for gold.
Well, hundreds of them. There's
also,
gold and copper mines and turquoise mines. And like I said, there's when they first arrived here, when they started exploring those mountains, there was huge caves filled with pioneer wagons and all sorts of stuff. From when the Spanish came as well, when they were warring with the Apache, the cave systems became very, very important because the Apache had to literally use all the caves to hide from the Spaniards because the Spaniards were out there slaughtering everybody.
Yeah, that's another legend I heard about Spanish gold being buried in one of them caves somewhere in that mountain range. And caves, that means a place to stay, And even if a Bigfoot was to hot-foot it across the desert, he's out there in the open. Once he gets to those mountains, if he can find him a cave, man, he's got it made till the next night.
There we are. Wow. Another couple other comments and questions. I already asked that one. Bob Lindley asked, are there Wendigos out in your area?
Wendigos are everywhere that you'll find that type of magic happening, you could say. They've been on almost every reservation I've ever visited. Stories of the Wendigos are around there.
And here's another one from Tate. I imagine the sighting reports are lost in the translations, I believe, in Mexico, which could be the reason why you don't hear about sightings there.
Well, the BFRO actually have a good number of the sightings from 1976 on from out here. I think there's a good over 20-something. But because of the stigma of New Mexico being a desert, people don't really pay attention. They're not searching for anything like that out here. And there's never been any, you could say, major research or researchers from that area that have done extensive research on Bigfoot in that area to tell everybody. Right. Like I was the first one to ever hunt for Bigfoot in Tule Creek, and I know the area real well. I know the locals there, and I've heard the stories. A lot of them are the pecan farms. We have a lot of pecan farms. Where we have manufactured forests right by the edge of the mountain.
Yep.
And I would hear stories from the people that own the farms that they would catch werewolves, really tall werewolves picking off pecans at night, and they would hear howls.
Oh man!
So that also led me to the conclusion that I better go look and see what I could find, because if there is, I know what to look for. So if there was Sasquatch in that area, I would be able to find the telltale signs. There was even a lady, one of my neighbors lived about a mile away from me when I was up there in Tularosa. One of his family friends, she told us that they were out in Tule Creek, hanging out, her and the kids, and they drove down the way to go to an area where they call it the poop chute. Okay, and the poop chute is because there's cattle that go through there and they poop in it, So they went up to that area, and there was a juvenile Bigfoot. She didn't call it a Bigfoot. She said there was this weird small monkey person. She described it, covered head to toe in hair, auburn hair, was roughly around 5 to 5.5 feet tall in the water, and when they walked up, it jumped out of the water and ran into the bushes. And she was like, I never told anybody that until I heard your friend Frank saying that you're into Bigfoot. So I thought maybe you'd be interested in knowing that, and that's when I was like, yeah, I'm going to Tule Creek to look. And sure enough, I found evidence.
Okay, Quick Witty is out and about here tonight.
Yeah,
so let's
Quick Witty, welcome.
Let's Quick Witty has a question. First question is, do you believe there is something about a cover-up theory? Do you think the government's covering this up as far as the Bigfoot mystery?
Oh, definitely. See what's happened with the government, okay? Because this covers all weird UFOs, Bigfoot, et cetera, et cetera. So anything that will go against the narrative that they've taught us as a country in our school systems and whatever, okay, and anything that can help them with in their military world with weaponry, okay, because the super soldiers, you heard of those, right? So if you can enhance soldiers or even breed soldiers that can withstand climates and not have to worry about being cold and are super strong and they're super large, there's tons of reasons that they have to cover it up, because it would give away what they're doing, period. What they're planning, or like I said, it might go against their narrative, which could cause a lot of problems also with the forest departments and the lumberjacks and the gathering of trees for lumber. You find out there's a human out there, a form of a human, or an animal that's doesn't exist. Right. They have to declare that area pretty much sacred. You can't go there, you can't hunt, you can't cut down trees. It's an ecosystem and a habitat. So there's definitely a form of a cover up on different levels.
Okay, I'm going to come back to a question later about that in particular. Trying to okay, so Tack asks, with your background, have you done any research on the Mapinguari?
As much as I can that I could find on line, but I haven't been able to go out there and talk to the locals about it. But we're looking again at the same thing. There is legends of women, Native women in that area who were kidnapped a long time ago, and them having to deal with them.
Well, we have a couple of years ago, we had a gentleman on the show, which we'll get him back on at some time. I know he's going through some health issues, but we had a gentleman that was on a couple of years ago who was he was a medic assigned to a ranger group, and they were in Central America in activities against FARC. And his whole platoon had multiple run-ins with the Mapinguari, which was a fascinating story. And even more fascinating is he got detached from the ranger group, and he was MIA for 22 days.
Yeah.
And he survived. It was just what a great story that was. So,
oh, man, I was on the edge of my seat, dude.
If you get a chance, to the gentleman that asked the question, research the Olmec ape, okay? And if you know who the Olmec people are, they were the ones that were before the Maya, okay? My last name, Payan, is Mayan, the Mayan word for first ones. So the tribe and clan that I come from are the first Mayans that appeared out of nowhere from the Olmec people. I look more Olmec than the traditional Mayan. They're little people. I look like a giant out there. I don't blend in well at all. But the Olmec ape, it goes way back. And they've been around. They made statues of it and everything.
So I'm sorry. I'm trying to.
There's a lot of
as it moves, I got to kind of. Em and Chris ask, "What's the single strangest experience you've had?" I think that demon one, or that where you were dragged, that was a pretty strange experience.
Yeah, that was pretty wild stuff. Now, as in my life, strange or Bigfoot related? That's the question.
Let's go Bigfoot related.
Okay, I would say the strangest thing Bigfoot related would have been, I guess it would be when I was camping in Bailey Canyon, and I had a young gentleman, that youngster in my eyes, he was over 20 years younger than me, and he didn't believe in Bigfoot, and he would hunt for antlers, and he told me, he was like, man, I've been up and down that mountains, up and down, I've been hunting antlers, I ain't seen no Bigfoot, nothing, right? So I was like, well, how about this, man? How about I take you up there one afternoon? I'll show you some really strange things and tree structures. And if you can explain how a human being could do it, hey, I'll give you credit. But if you can't, would you give me the benefit of the doubt that Bigfoots are real? Yeah. So he was like, sure. So I took him out there, showed him the structures, giant X's, the twisted trees. And he was just like, whoa, he couldn't explain it. And I was like, want to see if they'll respond to us? And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, they're here. They know we're here. So I did some tree knocking, and we got responses back. So he was just even more, wow, this is awesome, right? And he tells me, it's starting to get towards evening. He's like, let's camp out. I brought my tent. I was like, you understand that this is their stomping grounds, right? And they're really big, and they can hurt us if they choose to. He was like, yeah, I want to. I was like, oh my God, okay. So I told him, I said, how about this? I'll even invite them to come down. So you go on my channel, you'll see, it looks like I'm being silly, but I was really calling to him, and I was like, Sasquatch, what's up? We're just trying to say what's up. Come down, say hello. And I know they understand what I'm talking about. This guy thinks I'm just being silly, because I did it on the Facebook Faces, so it made a bunch of my faces with an echo, so it looks funny. But yeah, so we set up the camp. Midnight comes, and we hear footsteps walk up to the tent, and then we hear, from the bottom of the tent, like that, and then it sniffs all the way to the top of the tent. I'm 6'3", and I could stand up in that tent. Yeah. So whatever's sniffing away is taller than me and the tent because it's sniffing on top of the tent, right? So he's just like, his eyes, huge at that point. And he's sitting on one end of the tent. I'm sitting on the other side of the tent. All of a sudden, a big, giant arm reaches under the tent, like underneath it, and it knocks him over because it's a big, giant arm. And he's like, ah, right? And I yell, no. Oh, sorry. I said, no, bad Bigfoot. And it pulled its arm out. And he looks at me, he's like, did you just scold a Bigfoot? And I was like, well, what else am I going to say, man? Shit, come on now. And then it walks around the tent. I hear more footsteps. So there's more than one there. And there's a big hand, a big old hand pressing ever so softly on the tent. And you start hearing above us the tent hood for the vent that goes on top of the tent. You hear it being, fiddled with. And it's pulling back the vent hood. And he's right under the area. He's pulling it back. And he starts looking up, and he was like, I can see it. I can see its nose. I can see its nose. And not, at my angle, because of the screen, and I only had a flashlight on, I couldn't see what was there. Only he, at his angle, he could see it, right? So I'm taking some pictures though, and he's freaking out. No, he's officially 100% got to change his pants, And later I find out after brightening the pictures and everything that there was 3 individuals that were there. Okay, and this is where we enter the woo, right? So there's 2 Bigfoots. One of them is just smiling at him like this, and the other one's going stuff like that. I got multiple pictures. I have it on one of my videos. And the crazy part is, in one of the pictures, there's a 3rd individual looking in the tent. And it's not a Bigfoot. It's got red almond-shaped eyes and green skin, not the usual gray skin and black eye. So we had 2 Bigfoots, and whatever you want to call it, an alien, a demon, or whatever, it looked like a green gray with red eyes. And like I said, I got the pictures of it too. And so it, he was getting really scared. So I told them again, I was all right, now that's enough, guys. You're freaking them out. And for the next, excuse me, about hour, 45 minutes, I was talking to them, trying to let them know that we're not going to run. We're not. I told them, we ain't got guns. We didn't bring knives. We're not trying to hurt you. I need to tell you guys some stuff because there's some things going on in the forest, and we'll just say the powers that be, that they're looking for you. And I talked to them about, I brought up Enoch and the story of Enoch. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that whole deal, and the rules that Enoch set upon those creatures. If you study the Sumerian history of the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Enkidu, they were banished to the depths of the forest around the world, never to mingle amongst man. So I was kind of, what else am I going to do? I'm trying to think of everything possible to let them know that, hey, y'all don't get too crazy now. I know the rules, and I'll say a prayer or something, you know, and you all get in trouble. And sure enough, they just hung around our tent until about 4 o'clock in the morning, and eventually left. And in the morning, I took a picture as well where the arm went under the tent. Couldn't find no hairs, unfortunately, but you could see where the arm went under the tent. And when we packed up the tent, I'm just calling him Kenny for privacy's sake. Old Kenny told me, he goes, Jesus, you can have my tent. I'm never coming up here or camping ever again. I go, so you believe then, right? And he was like, yeah. And I haven't heard from him since. It's been years. So I would say that's the weirdest.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Bigfoot related.
You ruined his camping adventures.
That's right.
He'll never camp again.
A little bit.
Oh, man.
Okay. Uncle Artie. Hello, Uncle Artie. He's got a question. Howdy from Texas, Gonzo. Have you faced any backlash in the entertainment industry for coming out about the existence of Bigfoot?
Not at all. See, the beautiful thing about me in Hollywood is that I'm a bad guy and I'm a henchman. So I'm the dude that just carries bodies, buries bodies, breaks some legs, shoots some people, gets shot a lot. I'm not the main characters. And when you're on sets, there is a lot of time in between shots because they got to reset up the scenes and put, blood packs on people and all that crap. So there's a lot of downtime. And the cast members and the producers and everything, they love hearing my stories, my experiences with Bigfoots and UFOs and ghosts. And so they've loved it, and RJ Mitty, who played Walt Jr., Flynn, he wants to go Bigfoot hunting. They're just like, wow, man. And you don't care talking about it. You don't think people are going to say bad things? I'm like, dude, the world knows me as a big ass Mexican that plays a drug dealer and a bad guy. Yeah. I don't think my reputation is going to get any worse. Okay, dude. So it doesn't bother me, and I've never had anybody. It's actually been really cool because of the movies. A bunch of different TV shows will reach out to me, and they're just like, "Wow, that's so cool!" Because I'd be interviewed for a film or a movie, and they're like, "So Jesus, tell us, what do you do in between your movies? What are your hobbies?" And I'd tell them, "I hunt Bigfoot, look for UFOs." And they're just like, bewildered and like, wow, that's so weird, because nobody usually talks about it openly. Yep.
Except maybe Rob Lowe.
Yeah, well, later, much later, then it became pop culture.
Oh yeah,
where it was cool. I was supposed to do a TV show with Megan Fox. She's into Bigfoot. Do you remember the TV show, the Sons of Anarchy?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so the brothers, there was Toby, right? Toby was the long-bearded guy.
Yep.
His girlfriend and wife on the show, she was a blonde that played a porno star or whatever. Her name's Kristen Renton. We were doing a TV show, also. She was going to come out camping and everything. And, of course, budgets and all kinds of different things happened, so the show's never made it past, the pilots, unfortunately. But, yeah, Hollywood's interested. They're definitely interested.
Lowrider says Tuco Salamanca would stare Bigfoot right in the eyes and say, tight, tight, tight.
Yeah, Tuco would, yes. But the actor Raymond Cruz that plays Tuco, trip out on this. He's like in a bunch of cult films, American Me, the Chicano-style movies, American Me and Blood In, Blood Out.
I remember him from Training Day.
Yeah, Training Day, right? In real life, get this, he's a surfer dude. He was raised in Malibu, California, and he sounds like a Ninja Turtle. I was like, what?
Oh,
like, I met him in character. So after we, yelled cut the first day we met, he comes over to me. He's like, hey, bro, you want to go get some hot wings? And I was like,
Cowabunga.
Yeah. I was like, what the heck? That's wild, man.
Yeah, well, it's like you hear Jax Teller from Sons of Anarchy. English. Andrew Lincoln from Walking Dead. English.
Yep.
And people didn't even know that I forget his name slips me, but the guy who played Apollo in the latest Battlestar Galactica, he's an English actor too. They all speak with very. In fact, I didn't even know that. A little Battlestar Galactica trivia. That's my geekdom. The guy who played Apollo actually dyed his hair brown. He's actually blonde. Nobody knew that. But all right, let's see. We got our audience always has so many questions.
Yeah, I forgot about Megan Fox doing some. I think I watched her show she did on Stonehenge.
Yep. Yeah. See, the reason why our show didn't work out was because she got a better offer from Victoria's Secret. So she walked off our show because she got offered a lot of money to go do the Victoria's Secret thing.
I bet she did.
You got to do what you got to do, you know.
Okay. Troy Bunn asks, how can a primate creature who knows nothing about technology, avoid it? Well, let me answer that one real quick. You said it right there. Primate. Smart. They see us. We not necessarily see them. They see us doing things. They avoid it.
Oh, yeah.
They're observers.
There's a group of chimps that during one of the wars, and I believe it was in the Congo, they literally changed for millions of years the way they lived, and would only come out at nighttime
to avoid humans.
Avoid humans and their guns. Now you got to understand that Bigfoot, Sasquatch, they're even smarter than the average primates. Yep. They've got very high intelligence. Okay. 2, they're hyper visually intelligent, so they know their surroundings. And if you put a trap cam up, it sticks out like a sore thumb. Okay. They get, their job is voyeurism. They're the professional peepers, peeping toms, peeping squatch, right? And they get to see us shooting deer, shooting other animals. They get to see, what we're doing for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years now. Yeah. So they go back and they let their friends know, because they have specific members of their clans that go out to watch, to scout. That's how they recognize what it is. They see our vehicles. They know they've learned to a point what is.
Yeah. Let's see. A couple of Sean Godet asks, has Gonzo ever worked with Edna?
Edna Bolden? Edna who?
I don't know. OT made a comment. Megan Fox believes in Bigfoot. Wow, she has nice teeth to boot.
Hey, Megan did a great show, that one I watched on Stonehenge.
Yep.
I would have watched that show, but hey, she's got to be a Victoria's Secret girl. Don't blame her.
Do what you got to do.
Right.
No. I think we're covering. Nani says she's part Seneca Iroquois from the Six Nations. My great grandmother would talk of the hairy man in the Book of Enoch.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
The second I mentioned Enoch's name, they were like, they know. Like I said, you got to remember, guys, that not everybody believes this, of course, but that's okay. That's all right.
Yeah.
They are a tribe. They're a clan. They are humans. Okay. And just like all my other tribes and clans that I know and love, and, my own people, we have passed down this knowledge orally, thousands of years, hundreds of years, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how they've kept their histories too. So they recognize all this. So they're not just a bunch of dumb monkeys running around.
Right. Yeah, and it seemed like they tend to live in family groups too, so it's not like just an individual.
And if anybody has read Dr. Meldrum's book, Legend Meets Science, he specifically mentions those chimpanzees that after the war they had a hard time finding them again because they were avoiding humans, and it's just so much to that fact. But anyway, let's get to the video part. You had gotten a video. We have a 4-second clip of that, just a little taste of that, because we want people to visit Jesus's channel over at youtube.com/Breaking Bigfoot. So, but we do have a little taste of that, and set us up for the video. I mean, what was going on at that particular?
So there was an intense investigation going on. We were set up with night vision and camouflage, and none of that was actually happening. What happened was I got called by a couple on the res to see if I'd give them a ride to Walmart to get some groceries. So we're driving back from Walmart, and the guy that I was with, his wife goes, "Hey, look, there's a Bigfoot," right? And we turn to the right, and sure enough, there's a big old Bigfoot walking across the field. Wow. And I pull right over, break out my phone. This was not expected. We did not plan it. And it's a good quarter mile from us. Now, if anybody has ever filmed with their phone, everything looks about 3 million miles away.
Yeah.
And so the footage isn't the best, but if you watch my video on that footage, you'll see that I have enhanced it because it walks where it's walking right here. You see that big telephone pole? Oh, there it is right there. It walks behind those bushes it's walking towards, and it stops, and it watches us, okay? I did I let them take my car. I said, "Leave me here. Take the car. I'm going in." And I took off after it, looking for it, And, so I've got a picture of his little cone head sticking up watching us, and I enhanced it, and you see a face. You see the sagittal crest and everything, and also in my follow-up investigation after I went chasing it, there's another area in the video where I think it had some children with it or some fellow Bigfoots, but you can see there's actually one in the bushes that I was right nearby and filmed. You see it for a split second, but I break it down. You get to see some good stuff.
Jesus, that looks like a waterway there, right? Where all the trees are lining. Is there like a creek or something on the other side of the trees?
Right there is an irrigation ditch. That goes alongside it. Then you got all the trees.
Yeah.
And then you have the San Juan River.
Yeah. Using it for cover. Yeah.
Oh, the San Juan. And I remember JC's pictures off the San Juan too.
Yep.
Oh, that is amazing. It's always cool to, I always say, people say, well, that's a blob squatch, but you've had that visual sighting. So I kind of, when somebody has a sighting, no matter what picture they take, okay, that's something
right.
Obviously they're seeing it with their own eyes versus, just what we're seeing here. I consider blob squatches people that just randomly take pictures and go, oh, that's a Sasquatch. That's a Sasquatch. That's a Sasquatch.
That's the thing, and that really helps because even though if your video or your photo is not that high of a quality, which, 9 times out of 10 is not going to be, because when these things happen, it's going to be unexpected. Like you round the corner and then boom, there's Bigfoot. So if you're able to get a video or a picture or something other, it's going to be spur of the moment and it's not going to be that great.
Yeah, you know Thinker Thunker? You familiar with him?
Yeah. Oh, right. I watched his videos on YouTube. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, he reached out to me. He asked me to send him my footage, and I did. And he congratulated me on getting good footage on, just on a Bigfoot. And he said that from what he could tell, and it's even though it's really far away in that clip right there, there's better versions of it that you'll see on my video. And he the way it's walking, its gait, everything. He was like, dude, that's a Bigfoot.
Yeah. So what I like is you don't need the red circle for that one.
No.
You clearly see what it is or see what it may be. You clearly see there's something walking in that video.
It's got a pretty smooth gait, I got to say. It's pretty smooth. The head is not like bump, up and down. It's pretty smooth gait as it goes across.
And what was the temperature that day? Remember?
I would say about 80 degrees. It was about 80 degrees out.
So it's not like, it's not like somebody's going to don a costume and let me walk along the irrigation ditch because that'll get pretty hot pretty fast, or you get themselves shot. The other interesting thing is that, I've been out there. You don't wear dark clothing out in that kind of weather because it absorbs heat. You'd wear a little more earth tone-y type of clothes.
So you got to think about this, brother. All right. One, there's some big natives out there. Okay. I went out to the same spot where it walked and we took a picture and I showed the comparison of height. So you already know I'm over 6 feet tall, and me standing out there, I was wearing shorts and a shirt, and I had hat off. I'm bald up here, and you could tell that I was wearing shorts, and you could see my bald head glowing. And so to wear a outfit, even if you're just dressed in regular clothes, to wear black shoes, black pants, black shirt, and a black ski mask, pointy one, is kind of silly. But the one thing I like to point out is that if you're out there, say you're that far away from the highway, okay, and you're walking along a dirt road by an irrigation ditch on a reservation, okay, and a car pulls over on the highway, why would the average human being hide behind bushes and watch us?
Yeah, really.
No.
Doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah. No. Nope.
And a couple of comments, and we got another question from Sean. We'll get to that in a second. But Nick says multiple eyewitnesses of the same creature lends credibility to the video, even if it was serendipitous. Yeah. And Tate Arano says walking super fast and wasn't running. There's a chance it could be a hoax, but I felt like hoaxing from that road, hoping someone would likely notice, is kind of unlikely.
Unlikely.
I agree.
Unlikely. That's like in the middle of nowhere.
Well, this is the really, really interesting part. Okay, check this out. So if you watch the full video of my investigation and everything, as I'm walking out there, you'll hear me talking to this gentleman, okay, that owns a house right by that area.
Yeah.
And he's telling us that the night before, right there in that area, one of their horses had been getting messed with by the Bigfoots, okay?
There you go.
And the next morning, they found their horse dead with its hind leg ripped off. Oh. Not cut off, not chewed off, ripped off. Now, try ripping off a chicken leg off a live chicken, okay? Yeah. Let alone a horse.
Yeah. And you got the follow-up investigation. Is that on your channel? Okay.
Yeah, it's all together. Yeah, in the video.
Okay, we like to recommend everybody go to Jesus' Bigfoot channel. It's youtube.com/Breaking Bigfoot.
Yep.
And it's got that video and the follow-up investigation.
Yeah. I also have on there the Genome Project with J.C. Johnson when we went out there and we submitted the DNA, and on that trip we had Bigfoot encounters, and you'll get to see Robert Kreider get hit in the groin by a Bigfoot with a big old rock. Got hit square in the no.
Okay.
Oh man!
Right in the coin purse. So
I'd like to remind everybody on YouTube, like, subscribe
to both of our channels.
Yes, both of them. Appreciate the help. Helps us out in the search rankings.
I'll be putting this on my Breaking Bigfoot playlist, so all of my followers can watch this podcast and subscribe. And all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's see more.
Wow.
OT says Bigfoot is brave. A horse kick to the chest or head, game over.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, a horse kicks you in the head, man. That's it.
It didn't have any signs of a broken neck, did it?
Not that one, but when we were up there on that investigation, well, like if you watched that my welcome video, the intro video, you showed the clip of, we're talking to the owner, the ranch owner, where he would find the deers with their heads snapped all the way backwards, twisted around.
Yeah, that was something that's kind of weird that happened around here, but with calves, baby calves, like beef cattle, my uncle was having quite a few, and other people in the area that would end up with their necks broken. And what I couldn't figure out, okay, this was a strange thing to happen, but what I couldn't figure out is if the Bigfoot was doing it, breaking the neck, why wasn't it taking it with it? If it was going to use it for a food source, or could it have been doing it, I don't know, for meanness or something?
Well, there's a lot of Bigfoot's cases where they'll kill dogs, of course, because the dogs give away their location.
Right.
If that area that these animals are in, they'll use these animals to intimidate the landowners by doing stuff like that. So they use it for an intimidation factor too. So not just for food, because we got to remember they're not just regular animals. They are using psychology, and they've known for years how to scare people. So what better way to scare somebody that you don't want in their area by doing this to animals and leaving them there for them to see it.
Yeah.
And I similarly, Chris, investigated years ago a cow that had been killed on a farm, a ranch in Alabama.
Yeah.
And it looked like the jaw was broken and the neck was broken. And what it looked like, it just took it and went, took a grab of the lower mouth and snapped it. Yeah. And there was no, when predators attack like a wild, like a cougar or a bear, and that was the predominantly, even packs of coyotes, the predation is usually on the hindquarters.
Right.
And they bring it down and then they go for the neck. In this case, there was no predation whatsoever on the back quarters we could know. It just was there on the ground, and the neck was broken and the jaw was broken.
Yeah.
And it had been recently killed, probably within about a week that we saw it. So the one side was skeletonized because the insects had gotten to it, but the upper half was pristine. And that was the night we had, I had seen one on night vision, kind of just walk into there was a couple of copses of trees, and it walked across, and it was kind of funny because I always say that, the infrasound thing is kind of, to me, I think they do use infrasound in that you do get a creeped out feeling from them sometimes if they're I remember walking that field between like the uprights, the two copses of trees.
Yeah.
I remember just looking over to the left-hand side going, I just don't like that area of the woods. I go, there's something creepy here. The donkeys were braying because the donkeys were the alert system, but the cows were all huddled in one side. Come back, and before you know it, somebody with a thermal says it's moving across the field now from one of those uprights of trees from the left to the right.
Yeah.
So I had sensed something that was there, but it was just that creeped out feeling which infrasound can produce. And I remember pulling up the night vision just close enough to see maybe take 2 steps and going into that forest. So I booked it up to that little wooded area, and I could hear it going, shh, shh, shh. And I was going to go in, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's nobody behind me. Where's my backup? I ain't going in. That thing's snapping cattle's necks. I'm not doing that right now.
So obviously, one really cool thing is if you look at in my videos, I have one about dismembered Bigfoot body. Okay, that same afternoon, or it was really, I don't know, it was 12 something, I believe. Me and old Kenny, I was showing him the tree structures, right? And he climbed up on top of one, and I took a picture of him sitting on that tree structure. And later, so many Bigfoot pictures are not seen when they're there. It's when you go home and you're looking through your pictures and zooming in, you'll see a Bigfoot peeking or hiding or whatever, right? So I'm doing that. I'm looking at over these pictures, and I notice in the far background of that picture, this is in the video, if you look in the far back, I zoom in, and it looks like there's a Bigfoot arm hanging from the tree with the bone sticking out at the top, and it looks half rotted. And it looks like a pelt. The part of the rest of the Bigfoot is also hanging from the tree, and I do a breakdown on that image. But so like they tore apart some other Bigfoot that wasn't welcome there and left it there. I didn't see it at the time because it was way far back, and it blended in really well. I've gone back since, and there's nothing there now. It's no longer there.
And I've always said that, primates of one species rarely attack primates of another species, but amongst themselves, that's where you get territorial fights and stuff like that. So now we have another bunch of questions. All right. Here we go. So James Lansing, good buddy James, over in, he was the guy who actually got that FLIR video we show on the site there in regards to our Vermont investigation one time, that walking along, he was the video guy or the picture guy for the FLIR. James asked, are the bent tree structures attributed to Bigfoot usually alone or in groupings? So he's asking
the Bigfoots or the trees? Well, from what I can tell,
think he's talking about the trees.
The tree structures. Well, yeah. I also do a video discussing that and showing the different types of tree structures. But yeah, normally when I find them, they're in specific locations. They'll be nowhere else besides in groupings, like you said, in their territories. You know, like I do. Sometimes I go hunting for Bigfoot from a vehicle. So you can literally drive down through a forest and you'll see their doorways. I call them doorways where they do that. And you'll see the trees, you know, leaned over, pull over right there, man. Walk in there and you'll find yourself a whole grouping of them nearby. But yeah, they're usually in groupings. They're usually not just, you know, everywhere. You know, if it was a natural phenomenon, it was, you know, snowfall, you know, and stuff like that, you'd have it more common and more spread out. But they are usually in a really condensed spot where you just have a ridiculous amount of them.
Right. They're social. Yeah,
yep.
Primates are social too. Troy asks another question. What do you think about the Indians, Native Americans who say Sasquatch is a race of giant Indians? They never refer to him as an animal. They had a name for him, the Cetics. So
yeah, no, like I said, all the different tribes and clans, they had different names for them. Each different clan had a different name for them.
The Iroquois called them the Adenarhe.
Yep, and yeah, so we always consider them a race of humans, different clan, and they have a language, and yeah, some of them are really just crappy, mean bastards, you know, just like humans. We had tribes, you know, of natives and that were just mean warrior, like, you know, sons of guns. Then you had the groups that were real cool. They were nice. Yeah. So we used to trade with these Sasquatch, and they would help us. We'd help them. But yeah, we always considered them humans of a type of humans, the hairy ones, you know?
Yeah. Now, our next question is going to come from our good friend Mick, who earlier had stated, and you missed it, you know, he's tried to bait Bigfoot with his ex's meatloaf, but they never seem to take that bait. Mick has usually a meatloaf joke once per week, so we got it in. And he said, Jesus, was the horse's legs who were dismembered missing any other body parts? And you've already mentioned why they may leave a source of food behind as to intimidate. So
yeah, it was just one leg. The rear, you know, the hind leg was just literally torn off. It wasn't taken with it. It was just left there. That area, if you watch the video, you'll see some houses in the far background. There's people that use that. They're like, there's houses there. People live there, and Bigfoots aren't going to be there, blah, you know. But they didn't understand that those houses are vacant because they had so many problems with Sasquatch in that area. The people just moved out and left the houses alone.
Now, here's an interesting point because Tack asked, was the leg found up in a tree? No. But, you know, it goes back. I'm thinking about that arm you said you had seen in the tree. Maybe that was left there to intimidate other Sasquatch.
That's what I think. Like I said, when you go watch the video, you'll see it's literally the arms hanging down, you know, like from the elbow bone. You know, you'll see the radial and the ulna hanging straight down with a hand. You can see the fingers. You'll see the fingers and everything hanging straight down. And then to the right of it is what I believe is the torso, but just the skin's left on it, the fur hanging off a big old branch to the right. You know, yeah, I agree. I think it was left there to kind of ward off a different clan. There's more than one group. There's groups in different areas.
Yep, and that makes total sense. That's, you know, that's the way all primates habitate. You know, it's very OT says, yep. I would be going to war. Actually, a couple of comments. We had a driver when I was doing frack. He had a cattle. Well, he had a bull that swears was killed by a Bigfoot. You know, Dave Winter also says he had a friend that lost cattle to a Bigfoot. Always carried a big rifle around. He wasn't messing around with them. Yeah, so that. I mean, you can see there. This is very common. And right now, Tack sent me something too. That's very, very interesting as well. Another body part in an arm. or a body part in a tree rather. And
Well,
do you ever find them caching animals in trees like deer or hogs or, you know, anything?
No, not very often. I don't. Whenever I do find any animals mutilated or anything, it's always on the ground.
Now let me ask you a question. That could be just a cultural difference between the East and the West.
True.
Because as far as I know, in that area, other than the high mountains, in the lowlands, you don't get as many predation animals there. Right. And maybe that's why it's kind of just left out. Whereas in the East Coast, we have a lot of predation animals. We have, you have, yotes, especially coyotes, and you have in some areas, like in Maine, you have wolves and, bear and cougar and all that. So maybe that's a difference, because I've heard that happen in Pennsylvania. I've heard that happen in New York. Obviously in the South, I've heard that happen. In the South, you have a lot of wild hog that run around there. I'll never forget that day driving in Texas, and I've always heard that there's wild hogs in Texas, and I'm driving down a dirt road. There's a big old hog, with the tusks and everything shooting across. Yep. And they're more gnarly than bears.
Oh yeah, and they get bigger than bears. Shoot.
Yeah. Well, one animal I do not want to run to. A bear is one thing, but a moose. And up our way we have moose, and those are pretty gnarly when they want to be.
Right. What I found really interesting that a lot of researchers don't. I don't know if they just don't know or think it's possible, is Bigfoot's up in trees. I have like I said, you can see all this is on my channel, but I have a picture of two baby Bigfoots way up high in that tree, and that's also from that day I was with old Kenny. He's sitting down, you can see him in the distance, but up to the left there's two orangutan red little Bigfoots in the tree. You can see the feet with the toes on one of them, and then I have another photo of multiple Bigfoots standing in trees, and one sitting on a tree, just hanging his legs, just like doo-doo-doo-doo, hanging out. And so when you're out there researching, guys, look up. Definitely look up. Even though you don't think that a tree could support a Bigfoot, well, they know which limbs can support them, and that's another reason. One of the reasons they do tree structures too, and they'll bend, a whole log between several other ones, and it makes a really tight hold, and it makes them able to stand on them and look out farther and see where they're going or see what's coming.
All right.
Now, have you seen the Pridgeon video, aka the New York baby video?
Yes. Okay,
so I was really the first one to investigate that. That was always and somebody made the comment to me, well, what do you think that Bigfoot go in trees? Well, I don't know about the big ones. I've always said I don't know. I've seen some of them. Maybe some of the tougher trees in the Southwest can handle it. For the most part, in the Dax, a lot of the trees can't support that kind. There's a lot of them are very easily, and that may be a difference between, again, another East and West, because a lot of the tree limbs that are on our trees in the Northeast break very easily, because if they get a snow load on them, it's their defense. The tree limb breaks off.
Yeah, well, from what I can see is that the juveniles are the ones that go up high,
right?
And they'll climb up the trunk, and they'll use the very beginning of the branches to put their feet on. So they won't go out on a branch far out unless it's a really old tree that has a serious, branch on it. But it looks like just the babies, they'll have babies up there for safety reasons, of course. And the larger ones, they're the ones that have to stand on the structures that they create, or they stay on the ground the bigger they get,
And here's the amazing thing is that it's so funny, because what I've understood, my reaction to that was, what makes you think that young Sasquatch go up in the trees? All primates do that. It's how they learn how to use their hands and feet and articulate them. That's why we have monkey bars. And, as we get older and less dexterous now, we become a little more ground bound.
Well, that's also one of my theories that, when you get close close to a group out in the woods, here in Kentucky anyway, you'll start to notice things like trees are falling. And, it's no big thing. It's a special treat if you're out in the woods and a tree falls. You're like, oh, wow, I heard a tree fall in the woods. Well, and then if you wait another 5 minutes and another one comes down, okay, that's a little bit, too much good luck there. And my theory is that, these big adult males, I don't think they're actually strong enough to push down a tree 2 feet in diameter, but I think they are heavy enough they could climb one, shimmy up the trunk, and then kind of weigh it over, and then, bring it down that way.
That makes a great point, because how many times I remember being in Massachusetts with a couple of my researchers, and I remember we were getting tree knocks back, and we could hear something moving around, and then all of a sudden we heard this big snap, and I'm wondering if that's what's going on there. Right. Is one trying to get up a tree? Is maybe something broke? Or maybe they got on top of a tree and took the whole thing down. Because to me, you're right, Chris, it would make more sense if they had more leverage on it by going up it a bit and bringing it down. Rather
use
than
that massive weight to pull it down.
Right. I mean,
because
who knows?
Think about it, standing flat foot on the ground. Okay, you got to be a D6 bulldozer to push a tree over.
Yep.
And I know these things are strong, and I have no doubt in my mind that they could turn over a car easily, no problem whatsoever.
There's been reports of them shaking a car before. I've read, and I don't know if it was John Green's book or maybe it was Roger Patterson's book that it was he was taking accounts of newspapers and something. There was a couple of sleeping in a car and something. So yeah, I think they get very curious. I mean, there's no doubt they have no inclination. They're very rude sometimes. They have no, going up to a tent with a couple of guys in it, putting their arm under their tent or sniffing it, or going up to a car and kind of shaking it to see what's going on inside of it. Or, we had an incident up here. It's on Squatch Stories episode 3. Very briefly, I mentioned the story about the guy waking up, parked up in an area, and he opens up the door to his car and it won't move. He looks down and he sees this hairy foot. He looks up and there's one looking down at him. Oh. And then it just simply turns around and walks away. So needless to say, after that, he did not have to urinate anymore. He probably had to do number 2.
Need a dry seat after that.
They've been known to push over actual bulldozers.
Yep.
They're able to flip those over.
And if we go back to the very number of encounters that started what we call the term Bigfoot, they were supposed to be tossing around 50-gallon drums with ease. Yeah. And and this is a beautiful thing, if you read, like I said, I can't recommend enough Legend Meets Science by Jeff Meldrum, who recounts a story of maybe it wasn't that. I've been reading so much on different topics, but there was an account up there in the whole area where Jerry Crew had gotten his tracks from.
Yeah,
that they had found these pieces of construction timber in the middle of the woods. That there was just no way that they were over 1,000 pounds. Nobody could have just carried them up. It would have taken, and there would have been no reason to. Right. And here they are plopped in the middle of this wooded area for no reason. They got moved. So.
Oh, wow, man. That reminds me. A good friend of mine when I was in the military, his name was Richard. He's from Silverton, Oregon. Now, his dad died when he was a young man. But he told me one time, while we were there in New Mexico, one of his fondest memories that he remembered his dad taking him to a logging site to see a pickup truck where supposedly now it was a Bigfoot had grabbed each side of the bed of the truck and crushed the bed in, and you could see the handprints in the metal. and I have never seen any photos of that whatsoever. But, him telling me this, and it being one of the childhood memories, I don't have any reason to doubt him. But
you got to remember this, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Remember this, all right? You got a chimpanzee, okay?
Right.
A chimpanzee, you know how big they are. I'm not talking about the billy apes because them suckers are big. But the average chimpanzees, okay, if they're pissed off, they can throw a 500-pound weight.
Yeah.
Okay, a chimp. A gorilla, when they're pissed off, they can throw a 1,500-pound weight. Okay? Yeah. So think about that. If you got a 10 to 12 foot, if not bigger,
right,
one of those,
right,
pissed off, you're talking in the range of squishing beds with their hands.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. Yep. Much, much stronger than a gorilla.
And if you think about it, in extreme situations, we've had people lift a car up to get somebody out underneath. Yeah. Underneath. Yeah. Somebody's pinned in there, and somebody just gets out and automatically does it. Boom, boom. We do have the strength. We just don't have the willpower sometimes, but these guys don't have that kind of throttle on their mind, I don't think. Yeah, and David had just said that chimps aren't that big, but they can rip your arms off. Yeah.
True, David. I watched a show about when
their muscular density is
or something like that. It was terrible.
That's just evolution. You think about it. We don't have those dense muscles. I mean, maybe our ancestors could do some of that a little easier. Homo erectus, maybe.
Those billy apes, the natives, that knew about them, they turned them. Their name were the lion killers. Yeah. So these apes were able to kill lions.
Yeah.
And no surprise, they're smart. That's. And it's amazing that the number of the other ones that are really smart are dolphins and killer whales, which are closely related to one another. And whales themselves, they have incredible intelligence. And you think about, now you're talking about a primate, and people argue it either way. Either they get really ridiculous that they're super smart, or they're super dumb, and they're neither. And that's the number one thing I talk to about hunters. Oh, well, I've been hunting for all these years and I never saw a Bigfoot. Well, you're not. The how to hunt guy, it really irks me about that. It's like you're not hunting an ungulate, an ursa, a feline, a canine, a hog. You're hunting. If you're going out to look for a big, you're after a primate. They think completely differently than all the other animals. That's why we can make noise. We can talk to them, and who knows if they understand us, because they're not speaking English back to me. But if they do or not, but they're curious about, and they can understand when you're mad and you say Bigfoot, no, like you had said. Ooh, I did something wrong, whether they understand it or not.
Well, I have one. Correct me. When I was in that video, Tule Creek Bigfoot, I was whistling back and forth with them. I had my nephew with me. It was his first Bigfoot hunt, and we found a wigwam structure. Really cool little structure. You'll see it in the video. I was showing the audience, filming, and I called it a structure. I said, "This cool here structure."
Yeah.
And the original audio, it's really low. I didn't hear it while I was out there. But when I was editing the video, I heard it and I raised the volume. So when you watch it, you'll hear the raised volume, but you hear it correctly and say bush.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But here's my question. You didn't hear that when you were recording that, right?
No, because water was running. And
so my question is, was it a Bigfoot, or did you catch something paranormal and actually was an EVP?
That's possible too, but I had 4 or 5 Bigfoots literally surrounding me at the time. So
who knows?
Right?
Who knows? Maybe it's a combination, and that like I said, it's there's a lot to this, but that's interesting. But who knows? They may pick up English if they can.
Well, that's the thing.
Possible. It's possible.
The tribes know they have a language. That's the thing. Right. All of our people knew that they could speak. Okay, but this is something I've been thinking about with the ghost stuff.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, what about Bigfoot ghost spirits?
Yeah,
they
who
died.
knows?
They got, who knows what forests, are haunted by Bigfoots, that have died in the past. One thing I thought was really cool, the Blair Witch Project.
Yes. Yep.
I think that actually is a story of a lone female Bigfoot that had her husband and babies killed by hunters on that mountain. And that's why there's all those little tree structures, rocks being thrown at tents, and whoever goes up there, she screams, and they don't come back. And the guy that made that movie later made a Bigfoot movie.
Yes, he did. He made Eduardo Sanchez. He made the Blair Witch Project. He made Exists. Yep. He did a really cool alien one, too. He likes hitting all the genres. I forget the name of it. That was really good. Yeah, but Exists was good. Exists probably was the scariest Bigfoot chase you'd ever seen, where the guy was on his bike and it was running alongside him. That was pretty good.
That's the kind of Bigfoot horror movie I like, man. That was good.
Yeah, well, he kept it real too, like the noises and stuff. I thought that was kind of cool. That he would. So anyway, Sean asked, "Do you believe they are telepathic?"
Okay, back to the woo. All right, so my view on all that, is because I view them as humans. I think that they share the same capabilities that some humans share as well. Not all of them can do it, but I think that they have their own shamans, their own medicine men. They could have been born with it, could have been born without it, but I believe some of them do possess supernatural abilities. Not all of them, but just like human beings, there's some of us out there that can do some really amazing stuff with all kinds of levels of that, like out of body experiences, looking at places across the world. What's that called? Damn it, I forgot the name. The military use it, where you're in a room and they tell you the coordinates, and you can your spirit or your mind goes in.
Like remote viewing or
remote viewing,
like that. Yeah.
So same thing. Same thing. Like I said, depending, they've had lots of time to practice.
Now, here's my take on it. I'm not so sure that they're a human, because they have a lot of features that would generally not that are DNA affected. The lack of the absence of a neck, the sagittal cresting of the head, to a degree, the hair pattern of them. So that's why I'm not quite entirely convinced they're people. They're closest people as they can be, I think.
Right. No, like from the DNA findings that we have, they're part human. But being part human, just like I have friends that don't have necks. We have people that have cone heads as well.
Absolutely.
There's plenty of skulls that we found in Peru and a lot of other places.
But what kills it is the foot structure.
Yeah, like I said, they're not full human, but they are part. So, if you may be a hybrid human, but if you've got the vocal pen, that's the difference. Normal primates don't possess the vocal structure to talk. Okay, so we have these Sasquatch that do talk, and like I said, people that show this evidence, they're scoffed at, they're pushed away because they don't want to believe, and these people are there just like, I've seen a Bigfoot, I know Bigfoots are real, but to the people that don't believe it, they won't even accept it, So when I say they're human, they are a type of human. Just like for a long time, there's a group of humans that didn't think black people were human and that they were just animals. There was one time where people thought that my people were just savage animals and local fauna, and we're not humans, and we're okay to kill. So you got to really think about that. What our version of what we consider human. Yes, they don't look like us directly, but we have the same amount of hair. There's hypertrichosis. We have humans that are covered in hair just like them. It's in the DNA. What I'm proposing is that they're like superhumans. Personally, in my eyes, they're superhumans. Okay, they're everything that we wish we were, physically, But yes, we can make cars and cook and do other things. Doesn't make a type of being that also speaks, procreates, loves, buries their dead, has language, has history. It doesn't make them not human. The DNA is showing that they're part human, not complete same versions of Homo sapiens.
Oh, David, whenever, yeah, anthropomorphism. That is interesting.
That gets me back to the Native American legends. There's always, over all the tribes.
Reba asks a long kind of question. I want to get this question out. Not to cut you off, Chris. I want to get to this question.
Go ahead. Get it on.
Gonzo said, back to encounter. If you talk to Bigfoot in English, mention Enoch, mention they are stay away from humans, and mention Enoch to them. Have you heard them understand ancient roots of Hebrew, Akkadian, Aramaic, for that matter, to keep them from hurting humans? Have you heard your experience smaller or aggressive by more aggressive?
Well, like I was saying, they seem to know what I'm talking about when I mention those things, but there's also groups of them that hate us. They despise us because of that history with the Akkadians and the Sumerian tales that we know of. They don't mind killing us. They're stuck here. They don't give a crap what the repercussions are. Just like the Hanoba, was it in Oklahoma, the Hanobia incident?
Yeah.
There is groups of these creatures, and like the natives know as well that there's groups of them that eat us. They'll eat us. They will kill us and eat us. So it just honestly it depends on the tribe, and if they're more what we would call animalistic and primitive, we don't know if they really are or not, or they're they could be just as smart and understand English or the language around them, and still be complete psychos, man. Because we have human beings that do that.
Well, there's chimpanzees. There are chimpanzees. See, but what you're saying is not, to me, is not necessarily just related to Sasquatch. It's related to the chimpanzees as well, because the chimps, which are scientifically right now, if you call it, are the closest things to us. 94.6% of their DNA matches to us.
Yeah.
A Sasquatch probably would be a little bit higher up the chain than that. But there are groups of chimpanzees that are more that have a little cultural divergence than other ones that will attack other primates and eat them as well for food source. Attributing human-like qualities to animals, and that is what anthropomorphism is, and that is something that we all have to be careful of ourselves doing. Is that if a Sasquatch, just because, like I said, everybody has their own set of beliefs, and right now, Jesus believes that they understand his English. I'm thinking it was maybe the tone of it, but that's okay, because that's what research is about, is having these ideas, and we may not have to believe 100% of what each one believes, but it gives us a common ground that we want to see this thing solved.
Something to talk about.
Yeah, and something to talk about.
I think it should be done within the research community, guys, is that this is what I do, okay? If I go out with a different Bigfoot crew hunting, I shut up and I watch what they do. I see what they do, and I don't contest it. I don't try to change their minds or nothing. Yep. If we want to figure out what's going on and what these creatures are, what they know, and what we should consider them, we got to keep our books of research information open to everybody's theories, to everybody's research, before we can say we definitively know what's what. Just like me saying what I know, it's just what I have researched and I my findings. But we need the findings of everybody's theories, because like science, we can be wrong. And, and I will be one of the first people that's happy to get truth and find out that I was wrong about something and find out the actual truth to it. What's what's right. That's what I want. I don't give a crap about, I discovered this, I discovered that. I give a crap. I'm here to study Sasquatch and find out what exactly it is so we can figure it out. I'm not even worried about any of the other stuff. So I want to know what you think. I want to know what this person thinks. And I am not here to scoff at them. I'm here to just throw out my theories and listen to others so we can learn.
And the big thing, like I said, is that we all have a little bias with some things. You were brought up in that Native American tradition of what they are, so you're going to come at it with that angle. I was brought up in an investigator angle, and that's the way I come at it. Doesn't mean we should be enemies. Doesn't mean we should scoff at each other's ideas. We should listen, keep an open mind. Don't throw away the science book, though. But see, I feel that there's a lot of stuff that people attribute on the woo side that science can readily explain.
Yep.
And for you, it comes from a cultural background. It's like, no, but this is what my forefather said. And I get that. I understand that. And I respect that.
Like I said, I was trained federally as an investigator too.
Yeah.
So I'm an investigator.
Yeah.
I love science, but I am taking into account all histories on Sasquatch, all research. I ain't throwing out that stuff because that is actual research. And if you want to listen to anybody's reports, it's really important to listen to the people that have been around them for thousands of years versus the last 50 years of just people saying what they think. Now, for an investigator, you got to put together all the information. You got to interview every single suspect and hear the commonalities. And when you got over 100 million Native Americans just in one part of a continent saying the same thing, you might give credence to that a little bit more.
Yeah. That's one thing I was going to talk about before. Across all the Native American tribes, every one of them has their own name and legend for either some type of wild man or some type of wild woman, and there's most of the time they're always hairy. And I know there used to be a skeptic on the Skeptics Forum. I think it was Kitakazi. I'll give him a shout out, Kit, if he's out there. And he had a theory that none of these had to do with Bigfoot. But I was, of course, of the opposite opinion that, I think that far more of them have to deal with something, he had a good point about them being a cautionary tale to keep the children from going out into the woods at night. Okay, that makes sense. But when they start, everybody comes up with it's a hairy man or a hairy woman, and you don't go in the woods at night or it might get you. That seems kind of odd that they would pick so many different cultures.
They could have said it's a big killer moose. It's a killer cat. It's a killer mouse. No, they all chose to use the same creature.
Right.
It's very interesting because, like you said, it's not just Native American culture. In South and North America, you've got this happening in Russia, in the Himalayas, in China, in Europe, and the list goes on. Every continent. I did a video asking, "Is Sasquatch intercontinental?" Yes, it is. He's on every continent. In Europe, you got the woodwolves, right? Yeah. And those beings also. This is another key point: is that these creatures are able to procreate with us. Chimpanzees can't. Gorillas can't. But these beings, throughout histories of many different continents and races, can and have.
Yeah, it's kind of strange that no matter where you go in the world, the local people, native people of that area, all have some sort of hairy man or hairy woman legend.
Yep. Man stealers, women stealers.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Low Rider says, he says, I like Jesus a lot, but some of the things, he goes, you sure he didn't go home and take some of Heisenberg's blue stuff?
I'd be making a lot more money than I am.
Well, anyway, we are at the close of the show already.
Oh, man.
Awesome show.
Look how quick it flies by.
Oh, man, I enjoyed it.
You're something that we haven't had an injection of the kind of opening up some doors. We haven't had since J.C. Johnson. So I really appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored. I truly am.
That was awesome. And we got to keep in touch.
Definitely.
Obviously. And if you can, if you want to hold over for after the outro, we will go off the air, but we can still talk afterwards.
Sure.
So okay, folks, on behalf of me and Chris, and again, Chris, do your thing.
Oh, well, I just want to thank Jesus for coming on the show tonight. Thank all our great audience for all the wonderful questions. I swear, one of you guys needs to be sitting in this chair, not me. But anyway, thank you. And if it's the first time you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe, like, and go over to check out Jesus' channel. It's
it's not there anymore. It's YouTube.com.
Where'd you go? Okay.
Breaking Bigfoot.
Breaking Bigfoot.
It's YouTube Breaking Bigfoot. And I already subscribed to him during the show. So.
All right. Thank you.
No. All right, folks. As usual, on behalf of everybody here at Squatch-D TV, we want to wish everybody a happy, safe, and healthy week. Most of all, God bless and keep on squatching. We'll catch you all here next week, Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, here on the channel. We'll catch you all later.
Hey folks, you've been watching Squatch-D TV. Join us each week, Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for the latest on the Bigfoot mystery. As always, we thank you for being our loyal viewers and encourage all to subscribe to our YouTube page at youtube.com/Steve Kulls. As always, have a great week. Stay safe. God bless and keep on squatching.